Hello, everyone. My name is Gio Morales, your host of the Gold Squadron podcast, and we're coming to you live from episode 139. And today, I'm joined by my friends and co-hosts, Will. You need to have a final salvo dice strategy, Hagewood.
It's mostly hoping and praying.
And Ryan sent energy all weekend, Staniszewski.
I hope D, Farmer, and all the LVO judge and staff are okay.
I think so. So from what I've heard, everybody is A-okay. So I guess we should start. If I'm a little off today, I'm kind of tired, guys. I slept 2 hours on an airplane over a red eye, and then 2 hours after I got home from my full-time teaching job. So I'm not feeling so great, but it's Monday night, which means it's podcast day. And I'm going to be here for you guys. I'm not going anywhere. All right? Now, Marcel's not here because he took an extra day in Vegas. Him and Kayla, his wife, just having a good time, extra day. I think they were chowing down on some Brazilian steakhouse, something or another. I think I saw that post on Facebook. But anyway, that's where I was. Man, I wish you guys would have been able to be there. That would have been great. Next year, we're going to make sure the whole crew is there.
It looked like a blast. Yeah. That's for sure.
It was awesome. I gambled for the first time.
I heard you did good.
I did very good.
Don't let it get to you.
No, I won't. Definitely was. I was like, no hubris here. But it was a lot of fun. Ended up on top, and that's what matters. So let's go ahead and get into the content. So first, announcements and news. Apparently, damage decks, the faction damage decks from FFG are starting to appear in the wild. Had a couple of them show up reportedly from some of our people in our Discord channel saying, hey, my buddy snapped this picture, sent it to me that he received. I think he had a Separatist and a Republic damage deck that had arrived to him that he had ordered directly from FFG. So they do exist, they're real, and they're on their way. So that's super awesome. And then basically, a big chunk of our content is going to be news, and that is the fact that this weekend there were two major championships. We had the Chile Grand Championship, which, by the way, first Grand Championship, that level of event in South America, which was awesome. And, of course, the Las Vegas Grand Championship put on by Fly Better. We're going to go ahead and start by jumping into the Chile Grand Championship because most of us weren't keeping track of that, and there was some interesting things to come out of that. We're going to be focusing on the top four. Let's go ahead and start by taking a look at top four Arturo Aliaga's list out of Peru. Ryan, let me know what's going on here in this list. What is the list?
So a little bit of a take on what was before. Some people a while ago utilized Obi-Wan and 3 arcs, but this time swapping out one of the 104ths, usually 3. So there's 2 104ths, and then we have Wolf with Crack Shot, and then Mace Windu with the Delta 7B, not regen, electing to go R4 for more blues on Mace Windu's dial. So after he does those reds that he does like to do to get that force back, he's got more options afterward. A lot of beef, a powerful shot with Wolf, and then obviously another hammer with Mace.
Yeah, so when I was in Buenos Aires, Argentina, the Open that they had down there over last summer, he was actually flying something very similar to this as well. He's a big fan of the ARC 170. It's his ship, so I wasn't surprised to see that. Congratulations to him taking top 4. Now, next pilot in the top 4 is Juan Pablo Gonzalez with a Separatist list. What's going on here, Will?
All right, it starts off with a swarm of only hyenas. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Techno Union bombers. That's the PS1s. They all have proxy mines and struts. And then for a little extra spice, shooting 2 of them have Discord missiles. That's 6 times the proxy mine, so that's 18. That's 20 different things this list brings to the battlefield, which is bonkers.
Yeah, so this is very similar to one that won the Brazilian Nationals recently. Just really good list, lots of beef. I mean, you got 6 ships, and the fact that they're all carrying those proxy mines. We actually saw somebody fly something very similar to this at Las Vegas and had it on stream, and you just saw some of the nasty things that this little swarm can do.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to take a look at like some tape on this because I'm very interested in trying it out. I only have 12 proxy mine cardboard, so that's a problem. We need more of those.
Yeah.
But it covers a ton of area, and it can be really scary. It's a reverse kill box. Spread out, drop bombs.
And then like you get the guaranteed damage plus on average getting 1. I mean, it's just so much. It's like, hey, I don't have a shot, but I can drop all this stuff on you. All right. Then we're gonna go ahead and get into our top 2. The finalist is Henrique Barbosa, who was the champion of the Buenos Aires Open that we streamed a while ago. What's this list, Brian?
So we have the Republic coming in again. This time a little more familiar Republic. We have Rick Ollie, Plo Koon, and Obi-Wan Kenobi. As people may know, that we had the regen price go up. So instead of keeping all 3 regen and losing sense, opting into keeping sense on Obi-Wan, and then Rick is just empty. No upgrades at all. I think that's the correct choice. And spoiler alert, Andrew Bunn also agrees.
That's right. That's going to come back, I promise. And then we get to our finalist, who was Sebastian Nunez out of Peru. And he brought a rebel list. He had Braylon Strom with Crackshot, Jake Farrell in the A-Wing with Crackshot, Wedge Antilles with Crackshot, Lieutenant Blount with Crackshot, and then a Bandit to fill it out. A filler ship. Remember when we used to say things like that? Now, pretty cool list here, honestly. I like seeing Blount, obviously Wedge. Was a little surprised to see Wedge in here because a lot of people I've seen recently just dropping Wedge out of lists because of the cost, and also with the... It's interesting to see people's reaction with... like him going non-hyperspace legal. People are choosing sometimes to not necessarily fly him because they want to fly a list that's legal in both. But right here, Sebastian, obviously, for his meta and how it went down, made the right choice. Now, looking at these top 4 lists, guys, pretty cool to see a diverse set of lists. And one of the things I'm noticing as we continue to pay attention more to international events, especially events that, originally we used to not even talk about South America, like, oh, they have a weird meta and all this, but they've figured out their stuff. Put it that way. I know that they sometimes have supply chain issues and things like that, but a lot of these top level players, they get their hands on the parts they need, and we're starting to see a lot of crossover and influence. Like I feel that the metas are starting to kind of merge. We're getting more of a world X-Wing meta versus, like, oh, this is the United States meta, this is the European, this is the South American. What do you guys think about that?
So I think as everyone's getting all the product, it is all coming together. People are seeing similar things. Although it's obviously been a while since we had larger events. We're coming up on a lot of the system opens and more grand championships filling out the year. But I still feel like, you have the Fosses and other people down in Australia, a little more AC, but at the same time, like the complete opposite. You got the super AC and the super swarms over there. And then we're starting to see, I don't know exactly what to call the South American meta right now. It seems just adapting currently. And we know Europe's cooking up something crazy.
What were you going to say, Will?
I was just going to say that I guess I think that you're putting it as like the world meta, right? To where they're starting to see shifts and changes in between them. I think it's definitely got to be contributed to these different groups kind of getting together. There's bigger, more international like coverage. Like you went down to South America, right?
Oh yeah.
Was able to film that. These kind of local metas are now getting into the spotlight, and we can show everybody what these people are flying. And I think that has a lot to do with these kind of merging, because each little person grabs a little bit of that list, a little bit of some other list from a different continent, and that's really what's blurring everything together.
All right, let's go ahead and jump into Las Vegas. So, top 4 finisher, Andrew Bunn. Like Ryan said, spoilers, the exact same list that was flown by one of the competitors in Chile. We have this Obi-Wan Kenobi, Plo Koon, and Rick. So again, Obi with Sense, R2 Astromech, and 7B. Plo with 7B, R2 Astromech, and Rick. Again, the big strength in this list, of course, Regen Jedi are really good. Anytime you could just get half points on get 40-something points back on from the score seems pretty good. And then on top of that, they're all initiative 5, so you have a lot of flexibility in the motion and in the movement. And I talked to Alejandro Sparano, one of my best South American X-Wing friends, and he did report that the General Kenubi's X-Wing channel did record. They didn't have an internet access. They did record a lot of their matches in South America, by the way. So we're going to get to be able to see some of that content here pretty soon. And, of course, we did catch a couple games with Andrew Bunn flying this. I would definitely take a look at the couple of those games. You see a lot of great ace play and decision-making there. Then, Will, I wanted you to take a look at this list because I found this super interesting. So this is from Brian Lindawood, a.k.a. Belinda Wood, in our chat. He's a very a regular here at Gold Squadron Podcast, a regular viewer. Let's go ahead and break this one down.
And you're referring to the Scum Squadron here. We have a Friend Rao, Crackshot. Skull Squadron pair also was Crackshot. Those are the I-4 Fang Fighters. And then to round off the list, I'm gonna mess it up now that the pressure's on. Letian Ashura.
Sure, Latin.
Sure.
I was saying Latin when I was commentating.
Latin.
Latin. Silent. The E is silent. It's there for looks.
Is it? All right. Well, that ship's not there for looks because it's bringing an auto blaster and marksmanship, trying to get unblockable damage and also a fourth 4-die attack in this list as well. This is I don't know about the M3A. I want to know so much about the M3A. I want to know how many times this thing shooting 4 dice attacks a game, how many times it's defending. What is so? I'm gonna say it wrong. Litan.
Latin.
I've lost it.
That's
Latin.
fine. Follow your heart, but they'll know what you're saying.
You know what one I'm talking about. Their ability says after you defend or perform an attack, if the attack missed, gain 1 evade token. So kind of non-bow synergy with the auto blaster, but still 3 agility, still can double modify defense. Very interesting. There's no limit to that. I'm not missing that, am I right?
No, we can do it as many times as he wants. Now, one of the interesting things when you saw Brian play this, which by the way he was ecstatic that he made it as far as he did, but also surprised. It basically was bait. Right, it's like, oh man, this ship shouldn't be that hard to kill, right? It's just an M3A interceptor. But then what happened is that it would be hard to hit, and then you're like, okay, I'm going to ignore it. I'm going to focus on the Fangs. But by that time, the Fangs are in range 1 doing their thing, and then Latin's like, oh, by the way, I have an auto blaster, and that worked out quite a few times for him. All right, then we move on to the finalists. Now, if you guys didn't watch live, let me tell you that this final was probably, I don't want to say that it was the best final I've watched, because I've done a lot of them, but it is the first final where it has been 2 hours and there was 2 hours of action, 2 hours of stuff going on, where when you looked at Paul's and Zach's list, we'll break them down here in a little bit, that you would have assumed that this game would have gone very differently and felt very differently. It was back and forth, absolutely crazy. We're working on getting everything edited and stuff like that. It should be going up on YouTube. If you are a Twitch subscriber, you can watch it now on our Twitch page. The VOD is saved there. So let's go ahead and Ryan, take a look at Paul's list.
So this would be I would say your new traditional Captain Sear swarm. Captain Sear with TA-175 and Solus 1 and 7 grappling strut Trade Federation drones, proving I don't need Discord missiles to win.
Right. It's Discord missiles are bonus, right? Essentially.
Yes.
And I'm going to tell you, watching Paul play these vultures, masterful, absolutely masterful. Being able to use the tech that he had with the barrel rolling and the hard turns that are blue on those, making sure to cover different angles, and then when it came down to the wire, just the soundness of mind and decision making, absolutely fantastic. We'll look at Zach's list now and then talk about the result and how it went down here. Zach's list. Will, what's up? What is there?
This is an Imperial 4-ship. Has Colonel Jendon and Inquisitors, so we've seen before, be very successful. This Jendon has Emperor Palpatine on it. The Inquisitors keep their concussion missiles, but drop their traditional fire control system. And that leaves enough points to put Soontir Fel with Crackshot and Targeting Computer to make use of Jendon's ability in a 2-point bid. So it's a lot of 3-dice attacks, a lot of force floating around. Very, very agile.
All right. Now, this list very similar to what you saw Morgan Reed fly when we were in Australia. Now, this game came down to, if you don't want spoilers, if you want to watch it live and have that 2 hours of excitement, I would suggest skipping forward by like a minute just so that you don't get it. But it came down to basically Paul had to kill the shuttle and not lose any ships in order to tie the score to 100 to 100. They didn't realize it was tied right at the end. There was a big excitement. We confirmed the score. It was 100-100. Final salvo, 5-7. Okay, Zach had 5 dice left. Paul had 7. They rolled. Zach got 4, and Paul only got 3. I will tell you, I got I told Travis that I would pull up the actual numbers, but the percentage chance for Zach to pull that off is, let me see if I can just pull it up here really, really quickly. Come on, computer, don't.
It's really low.
It's low.
Spoilers. Because I think if you're only down 1 dice in final salvo, you only have like a 30-some% chance at that.
Right,
not even down 2 dice.
It was he had a 24% chance to win the roll-off. There's the number right there. 24% chance to win. So absolutely crazy. Both players said that was one of the most amazing games they ever played, and that's going to be one to watch for sure. That's a top pick for games to watch later on.
Would you say we've been pretty blessed with the finals of the past few big events that you've covered? We've had this Grand Championship, we had PAX, and we had Worlds, right? Those are all great finals.
Things have been absolutely amazing. There have been a lot of finals that feel like finals, if that makes sense. Like we've definitely covered a few where, usually it's a variance thing where just like one player gets a lead real early and just things just go bad, or they lose a really important piece early on in an engagement and things happen. But yeah, some absolutely awesome finals. This is definitely up there. This is absolute viewing. When it goes up on YouTube, guys, make sure you guys watch it. Now, I also want to take a second to give props to the Fly Better guys, Dee, Ryan, and Esther, that's Dee's wife, for doing an absolutely amazing job organizing everything. We had an amazing time, and I look forward to, if they plan on doing it again, to covering it again and bringing you guys that action. But highly suggested to, if they do it again, make sure to register early because it's sold out. A day 1A flight and a day 1B flight. There was something else I wanted to say about Las Vegas, and I don't remember.
How was being at Las Vegas at the venue? What was around the venue? What was good to do?
So, Las Vegas, a lot of good food. A lot of good food. Honestly, my least favorite thing is, and I hadn't thought about this, but in Las Vegas, people can smoke inside the casinos. That was super annoying. Like, my throat right now, if I sound a little funny, a little hoarse, it's not because I called 18 games in a row. I've done that a million times. But it was a smoke. Like, I was just like chugging water to try to keep my throat from closing up. It was bad.
Wait, hold on. They were letting you. Could you drink and smoke at the X-wing tables?
You couldn't smoke at the X-wing tables.
Oh, I was saying,
you
wow.
could drink like whatever you want, but in the convention center area, you weren't supposed to smoke. There were definitely people still doing it in like the outside hallway and stuff like that. There was like a line, but it was like the whole place just like smelled like a cigarette. Now, how many did you guys get to watch and catch any of the games?
Yeah, I was keeping track of the top cut, and once I saw Paul Olsen, I can't say his name, Olsen, get into the top four, I was glued to it. I had to see if he could pull it off.
What about you, Ryan?
I got to watch a little bit of day one, A. I don't think much of B. Either way, if there's a match I'd highly recommend checking out, go watch Blair Bunky versus David Kelly. It was crazy because you had an 8-ship scum list, because that's Blair, and then David Kelly with just Vader Echo. And I think Blair put on a masterclass in how to position yourself and early set up a corralling fight, where he had corralled both aces into an area that ended up forcing an easy surrounding capability for Blair to collapse in. Because as soon as any amount of aces, whether it's 2 or 3 against a swarm, converge on a similar location, it makes it a way easier on the swarm to commit to an area, because either the aces are going to fight you or they're going to bug out, and then their backs are to you and you can continue chasing. Blair's 4-ship had an autopilot drone, and you could see how he pathed out three banks in a row, no hitting rocks, got the best distance he could, and helped corral and make sure Vader did not have a way to turn in once he committed to following down his own board edge.
Yeah, it was awesome. And let me know in the chat if you guys were at Las Vegas Open. Say, I was there. I'm just curious to see who's watching right now that was there. Had an amazing time. Besides the smoking thing, we did have a lot of fun. Just being able to hang out with people. I think one of my favorite things is because it is Las Vegas and everything is close, right? And everything's open late. You could get food late. You could play games late. You could just basically do whatever you needed and wanted. Usually for myself, after we're done streaming, right? Usually people go out to eat, but you got to drive and all this, and sometimes it's like, well, it's easy to be like, I'm tired, we're going to, I'm just going to go to bed. But you're like, hey, wait, the food is right there. Okay, and then we can, we played some games. We played blackjack. That's the only game I played, by the way. And a couple people in the chat had asked, did I end up ahead? Yes, I did. All 3 or 4 times I played. I think it was 3. Good stuff. Now, here's my question to you guys. In 3 days, we have the official release of, is it 3 days? 4 days. The 31st? Yeah. In 4 days, we have the official release of the Von Regs tie, the Fireball, and all of the things in the card packs. This is the Las Vegas Open and Chile, the Chile Grand Championship are kind of a micro meta, a picture right before things are about to just get a whole nother curveball. Not just points, but points and now new ships and new pilots. Do we think that everything that we saw here in the top 4 is still going to be that top S tier? Or is there going to be something that is going to be in those packs that is going to maybe change up, or what we would see if this event had happened in a week from now?
I definitely think that you're going to see... We didn't see any first order in any of that, I believe. We didn't see any first order.
Not in those top fours, no.
Right, not in the top fours. But I think that they are gonna have some impact at least. The Tie Baron's super good, in extended or hyperspace, doesn't matter. So I think that's going to be the first thing, is that all these lists that we just saw have to figure out a way to compete with the Baron. The Fire Spray, the Fireball, I'm not sure is going to make too much of a difference, because a lot of the what do I want to say? A lot of the resistance lists are pretty much down pat. I don't see them changing too much. At least that's my prediction.
What do you think, Ryan?
So, card pack wise, we could see people playing with obviously the B-Wings more. They have those foils. I'm not sold on them being used for the cannon, because you're sure you can attack twice, but you have to acquire the lock, and every B-Wing except Gina is I4, so her I5 helps out with that. But she can't get double mods as easy. She'll need support. And that's where something like Jake could come into play. And 10 Nub can just eat the stress pulled by Gina, so that's a nice B-Wing combination. There's just not a lot of points that let you have like that nice third ship to complement the team of B-Wings. If you start investing in the cannons, I personally prefer much more quality shots than multiple shots that spend a mod for you to do it. Because a lot of shots are still good, obviously, with swarms. I play my fair share of vultures, but spending a mod just to have another shot, maybe, especially when you have to specifically go for that one. Watch out for Leia Falcon. I think there's serious use there. And Lieutenant Lahus, I5 SF. Be careful there. That's like a pseudo Braylon. There's a lot of target lock synergy in First Order with Lieutenant Revis, Von Reg, and Hollow, and Kylo can just lock sometimes too.
He's like, you know what? I think I will.
Yeah, no problem.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm super curious to see how that all shakes out, and we get to find out fairly soon, because in 2 weeks, I think. Let me go ahead and double check. Here we go! ! Events in the chat. That'll bring up our calendar, which there's a couple of things, mistakes I did make in here that I realized I do need to go back and fix. But yeah, February 8th, the weekend of February 8th, we have the Fort Worth, Texas System Open and the UK System Open happening the same day. And all the new stuff is legal. Normally it's 14 days they're required, but Alex Watkins, the head of FFGOP, has given the declaration everything is legal. It will be legal. Now, I think in the U.S., we're probably going to see that impact in the hyperspace meta. The UK, we might see it less because they are worried about supply issues there. A lot of the stores reporting that they're not going to have it on time. So we'll see what happens in the UK. Maybe some lucky people who are able to maybe recently traveled from the U.S. might be able to hit their hands on it, but as of right now, we'll have to just wait and see what effects happen there. Now that we've talked about Las Vegas and Grand Championships, we have a good chunk of time, and we've been having some pretty big packed shows. We haven't been doing too many questions of the week, so we're gonna do a couple of questions of the week and also our list of the week, and we'll wrap up after that. But I'm super excited here. So question of the week to us comes from B52 Benner, which, by the way, you can submit questions of the week and lists of the week on our Discord, ! Discord to join there. It's anybody can join. You don't have to be a patron or anything, but if you are a patron, don't forget to link your Discord to Patreon, because you do get some patron exclusive chat rooms. So question here is, who actually plays Hyperspace? Why is it a thing? I don't understand the idea that it is easier. I understand the idea that it is easier to control, but all it really does is just kill creativity and fun. Period. So that is their question. Obviously, they're also putting some opinion in the question on how they feel about it. Will, what are your thoughts on this question?
That's certainly an interesting take. surprisingly, I actually have the opposite reaction to it. I'm enthralled with finding a list in the limitations, using the limited card pool to try to find something good. Like we were just dissecting a bit ago, the scum list with the Fangs and the M3A. Those are hyperspace legal, but crackshot and marksmanship aren't. So if you do and that's what I think it gets interesting. I like kind of thinking about that of like, well, what if I did have to make it hyperspace? What kind of changes would I make to the list? And when you don't have those important pieces, especially like, I don't know, Tavinson, for example, has been a big crutch for extended first order list for me. But I can't rely on that in hyperspace. So I have to start thinking of different strategies, new ways to use the ships. So I can understand how it limits it. It's a smaller pool. But I'm actually having a lot of fun figuring out what I can do with those limitations.
Yeah, and then just to play the devil's advocate here, I think probably some of the people who are most affected and maybe don't like hyperspace is there are definitely players who say, like, I am not even just a faction player, but I play decimators. Like, that's what I do, right? But now these upgrades that make my decimator good are not in hyperspace anymore. So I'm upset, or I can't do what I normally do. Now, back to Dion's opinion, I think being able to play more of the game, I think is just good for the community, just being able to create creativity. And honestly, one of the things I think might happen with being quote-unquote forced to look at the meta a completely different way is I think our overall extended meta will start to transform a little more, because we're forcing people to start looking at pilots and upgrades that they necessarily wouldn't always look at, which I think might open up some minds when building an extended. So I'm curious to see what's that reaction. Ryan, do you want anything you want to throw in here?
Yeah, I think it's a little it's very forward and opinionated question on that. Clearly the person is not a fan of hyperspace in the first place. They really want their creativity, and they feel that it's being taken away from them because whatever is not in hyperspace is not there for what they want to build. I would say to them that a lot of the reasons people are excited for hyperspace is that limiting certain pools, like you mentioned, Dion, it gets people thinking differently and allows more combinations or different combinations to be thought of, occurred. And it's a very different meta. And a lot of the things people love to try and solve, at least I do, is solving a new meta that has yet to be solved. Figuring out what is not only what I think could be good, but what other people might strive towards, and is there a reason for me to be concerned about them? And so early on, we don't have a lot of data or anything yet to know what people are going to bring. It's a lot of prediction and understanding what is at baseline good to play, or what can you find that could turn out to be good. If you look at what was prevalent in these recent Grand Championships, we just saw two of the same Jedi lists occur that existed before. They just lost regen on Rick, and that's not that big of a loss realistically. We still saw the Soontir 2 Inquisitors Jendon. Like, extended could have been changed more, and maybe we'd have seen more thought of it being creative, but there's a lot of people feeling extended because a lot of the generics just went down. A lot of the already powerful stuff didn't get adjusted too much. People see it as like, well, it's mostly already solved, minus a few people spending the time to see what generic combination they could put together work. But most people are just, spend time in hyperspace and enjoy it. And it is, generally a easier experience for the average casual or the new player, because there's less easy modifications. There's less feels bad type cards in it.
Now, this is actually perfect timing. JD Bestis in the chat says, I want the M3A to be good. Watch Blair Bunky's game and watch Belinda Mood's games, Brian's. M3As, being good.
Yep. You can use a pocket M3A like Sunny or Leighton to be that bait with Auto Blaster. Because if they go after you, cool. It's probably my cheapest ship in the list. If they don't, well, there's an Auto Blaster behind you now. That's not fun to ignore.
Absolutely. And then I think probably we're going to see, what is it, G04. I've been calling him Gargor. However, the droid M3A. I think we're going to start seeing that as well because he's cheap and cheeky. But I don't want to go too far on a tangent there. The next question, our second question of the week here was, how do I know when to take initiative or give it away when looking at my opponent's list before a game? So I think this was, by the way, the question was asked by Stephen P. on our Discord channel. I think, Stephen, I think you have to start with, like, what are you playing, right? Would you guys agree with that?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Right,
do you have any triggers? What are your initiative values? Things like that.
Mm-hmm. Now, so yeah, what are your initiative values? What are the triggers? So that first player could really determine how things work out. So for instance, if you're in a mirror match with somebody with the exact same, a vulture swarm, let's say you have 8 initiative 1 vultures and I have 8 initiative 1 vultures. The decision here, and you win the roll-off, you guys are tied, and you have the decision. If you move first in that engagement, you are making it so that you guarantee on most, at least in the initial engagement, that you probably are able to get your actions. You are able to set up blocks. And then when it comes to attacking, you're going to have to attack first, but that also means that you're going to be spending calculates first. And then the second player has a little bit more information when attacking. So it's just really dependent from list to list. If you have, if you're tied at initiative 5s and you have AC ships, a lot of times you want to pass the initiative and say, all right, I'm the second player so that I can boost and barrel roll out of arcs and get better positioning with my aces. Then on top of that, let's say you look at each other's lists and say, well, we don't have any overlap on initiative. What does it matter? Rock placement can make a big, big difference in the game. And we had a game, I'm trying to remember the exact matchup, but where 2 players were playing and a placement of a gas cloud made the whole difference between whether or not that player who kept having, because of the engagement lane and where things were going to happen, he had to keep going through it, and it lost him the game. So rock placement would be probably my third reason why. Do you guys have any other things you want to throw in there?
So I just recently had a chance to play with a gentleman named Bruno on Vassal, and it was a weird dynamic where I was playing with Hollow and a swarm of Typhos, and he was playing Boba and some M3As. And my only overlap was my I1s and my I5s. And I ended up winning the roll-off. We had the same number. And I tried to think about it. I'm like, man, Hollow moving last seems good in case of dealing with Boba and Sarasu to make sure Hollow doesn't get jumped on. But then his M3s move first and can block my Typhos, which ended up being a big difference. I think what you have to realize with your list is understand what your high initiatives are doing and what your low initiatives are doing if you have a split. My low initiatives benefit much more greatly from blocking because I don't have boost. Neither does his Seeks. So without boost, I mean, barrel roll's a little bit valuable, but it's a lot less valuable than it is after initiative for boost, in my opinion, with those large group of ships. So all it is moderate jockeying for position. But in the middle of the game, the blocks come into play. I don't get those actions anyway. And Hollow was more designed to be a supporting ship behind the line, helping with the FO screen. So understanding what your list actually does and what your initiatives do is going to help you understand to make sure that you're picking the right choice of first or second player. I chose incorrectly because I really should have taken first, making sure I got to move all my stuff where I needed to. And then Hollow's behind the swarm anyway, so if he goes after Hollow, he's got to go through the mass amount of Typhos.
Cool. Will, anything you want to throw in?
It's honestly always a hard decision, especially when it's split like that. I think, Ryan, you brought up the biggest decision. It's not just like one pair, but it's like multiple interactions. Like, okay, well, his start of actions triggered before mine, but then, which is bad for me, but then I want to move after him, yada yada. I think it's very interesting. It takes some time and practice and basically like understanding of like each card in the game and how it kind of functions. But I will say though, I wanted to ask you guys about the rock placement toss up. I will say I actually have started to. I used to always prefer last rock, but now I've started to prefer first and third rock. When I started thinking about that you get the majority of the first half of the rocks, if that's a way to put it.
Yeah.
I've actually preferred first and third over last rock. What is your guys' opinions on that?
I like
just rock placement.
I like the first and third rock. I really do, because I feel like you get to shape the field more.
Right?
And then when it comes to the obstacle choices, so let's say, you know, you and I are playing, and you brought rocks, and I brought gas clouds, and for you, those, like, you're playing a vulture swarm or something, and those rocks are really important for you. I get to put two of them where I want to. I get to control where those, you know, where the vultures are gonna latch on.
Yeah, I'm not playing devil's advocate on this one. It's first and third for me. A lot of time, I'm bringing the rocks or debris to make sure they play into the game. And a lot of lists that prefer gas clouds, I don't want them to have that choice. So, and a lot of times what you'll see, and this is for anyone who wants to get into utilizing the droid swarm. And I'm not sure if I haven't watched Paul Olsen's game yet, but I think generally what you want to do is, if you're facing against someone who has gas clouds mostly, and you got the biggest three rocks or two biggest rocks and the biggest debris, is you put your biggest thing in the middle-ish first. And normally they'll try and corner one of them. From that corner, you want to place the third obstacle kind of interconnecting them. Not a direct line, but you want to get it so their cornered rock, which is probably on their side of the board, away from your droids, you want to make a link so that you have a nest for your grappling struts to go to. If you split them up too much, it's going to be too difficult to try and benefit from the grappling strut usage. Now, it's obviously on to the opponent to obviously not play your game and decide, I'm not going to go there, but you have a nest available.
I like it. All right. Awesome questions there. Remember, you guys can submit them, and we're going to try to answer at least 1 to 2 each episode. Now, on to lists of the week. We actually have 4. I know that Marcel's not here, but we're going to work on the fourth one together. And really, I brought up the fourth one to answer a question, and we'll get to that at the end here. I guess we didn't take picks here. Who wants the Empire list? Anybody?
I'll take it.
All right, Will's gonna take the Empire list.
Unless you got something, an idea already for it. I was taking a first impressions look this week.
All right, so let's go ahead and flip here. So this list comes from Dante Minotaur. It is an Empire list, and he calls it I-5s of the Empire. You probably know what's coming, at least some of it here. So we have Duchess with Fifth Brother. By the way, he does have the Hyperspace box marked in the link, so I'm going to assume that we're going for a Hyperspace list here. So, Duchess with just Fifth Brother, Rear Admiral Chernu with the Grand Inquisitor and Whole Upgrade and Dauntless, and then TIE Advanced Merrick Steele with Mark Steele, anyway. Merrick Steele with Fire Control System.
I see this energy now. So Grand Inquisitor can either rotate for Rear Admiral or coordinate the target lock for Merrick.
Mm-hmm.
That's not bad. Okay, I can see some synergies. I'm always worried about Merrick. I can't. But you have the coordinator, though.
Will, deep in thought.
Deep in thought. I guess here's my second question. Those are the only... outside of what Howl Runner, those are all of the 5s
In hyperspace?
in hyperspace. Right?
Howl Runner's not in hyperspace.
Yeah. Oh,
sorry,
you're right.
I didn't mean Howl Runner. Yes, but I guess Mauler Missile and
Scourge Skatu?
Scared Skatu.
Is that him? The other I5?
That is the other I5s. Yeah, I don't know about that. I guess
So here's my first question with this list. So it's at 195.
sure, yeah.
I feel like that's 195 is that place where like are you actually going for a bid, or are there 5 points that can be used somewhere?
So I think in most cases that's going to be enough of a bid against the lists that bring that small bid. Most likely in hyperspace, you're not going to outbid Boba Fett unless you're playing another Boba Fett. So don't even try. And then your next step up is probably going to be a light Von Reg Hollow Kylo, where they're not taking any regen, Kylo's not taking any upgrades, and maybe just Daredevil on Von Reg, right? So I think that's close to a 13-ish point bid. Not really going for that with this list, but a 5-point bid will beat a lot of the short bids. A lot of people who think 2 or 3 or 4, and they're like, oh, I got 5.
All right. I mean, so is there anything you think we need to change here, Will?
I think that's the biggest question, honestly, is if you put on, I think it's pretty cheeky to put Ruthless on there, just because you got a Decimator flying around. You can guarantee those extra shots, but that's going to cut into the bid. And so I'm almost questioning hull upgrade as well to get that. I guess I'm looking at the different lists and things. What is the appropriate bid if you're taking a real one? We're talking 10 plus.
Oh, well, I don't know. I mean,
It's pretty thick.
it's a new meta. Do what you want, man.
That's fair.
But so I mean,
yeah.
Here an idea to give you more room on the bid. So I get the idea of Grand Inquisitor, but I think Dauntless accomplishes similar thing. I don't know if you need both, because I think doesn't Grand Inquisitor require you have to do a white action, and the coordinate's naturally red, so you can't coordinate from Grand Inquisitor.
Mm-hmm.
You can't. I bet there's no tactical officers there.
Now, with the thought that a lot of Fangs are running around and a lot of Resistance is probably running around with 5As, I think a sneaky call is to swap Grand Inquisitor for 7th Sister crew. Catch some of those stressing linked actions off guard, those B-Wings. And if you want to hurt him even more with stress, put some Death Troopers in there. They don't fight each other because Death Troopers just means you can't get rid of a stress later. So if they move into your range 1 with 1 already, they're not going to get rid of it.
Interesting. That leaves you with 3 points left over.
And you could drop the hull upgrade if you wanted a bigger bid. You can play around with that whenever you want.
No, I'm going. I'm going to need to get seismic charges on there.
No bid.
7 Sister, Death Troopers, seismic charges. I think it gives you a better toolbox if this is what you're going for. I think the pilots make sense. Like that's like the definition of the build, right? Mm-hmm. So we're just looking at upgrades. And yeah, I think the Death Troopers, especially with everybody has linked actions these days. Well, not everybody, but
right, it feels that way.
A lot of good ships do. That's for sure. Granted, we've seen, with the Force and with the Baron, less stress yourself to get a bonus, less push the limit, which is a callback to first edition. And we're seeing more use out of it. But yeah, I would go full 200. I don't care about the bid in this, because you're essentially going to know. The whole reason you're I5 is so that you're out flying anybody else, all those I4 skulls, all the other Inquisitors, things like that. Plus, those bombs are going to be really good for that whole Vulture swarm trying to chase down a 0 agility ship.
Absolutely.
Yeah, can't forget the Vultures like to link action too a lot. That's going to make it real sad if you either get 7 Sistered or Death Trooper and you can't get your actions back. You can't get that Calculate train. Watch out for Death Troopers.
Yeah. That's very interesting. I like that.
And also the Seven Sister stress token flipping to Tractor could end up messing with Boba Fett a little bit, who likes to carry Maul a lot of times. So whenever, like, are you sure you want to double down there? Do you really?
He won't get Tractor because he's a medium base.
I mean, but you can do it. What if he has been stressed already? And then you're like, all right, well, now he has that decision. It's the second time where the threat is there. And man, you wreck Fen Rao, though. His buddy, this is usually... Fen Rao wants nothing to do with Seven Sister. No, thank you.
Nothing at all.
Off the ship, please. All righty. So hopefully that gave you a couple of different ideas there, Danter. We liked playing with that. Something else I was just kind of thinking about here, another idea you can go with is maybe trying to get Krennic in there. If you went back to Grand Inquisitor, I think it gives you a completely different feel to the list, and it's a little bit less toolboxy, but it kind of puts a little bit more emphasis on your aces there. All right. So let's move on to our next list. The next one comes from Chules. It's a Republic list, and he says, "Hello, GSP. My local store is participating in a Hyperspace tournament in February, and I will be flying the Republic." He's already decided. All right. I am torn between this list and another one, and he just goes ahead and gives it. But he wants to talk about this one. Any help will be great. The key to this list is you focus with the Ys, and then Obi uses battle meditation to give them both locks, while Rick does Rick things. So the list is Obi-Wan Kenobi with battle meditation. That's it. Nothing else. Then you have Rick with regen, the R2 astromech. Then you have 2 identical Red Squadron bombers. Those are the Initiative 2 ones, with plasma torpedoes, R4 astromech, which reduces the difficulty of the basic 1 and 2 maneuvers, and then proton bombs. Ryan, what do you think?
So, let me pull up the original one because I already started messing with this a bit. Sure. So, I like it. It's interesting. We haven't seen battle meditation used, and Obi-Wan being I5 gives them a lot of opportunity to get the right locks they need. I think we can make those torpedoes better, though. First, we're gonna keep all the ships, though. We'll let them play with all the pilots that are set up. So, am I allowed to? I'm allowed to switch as many upgrades necessary, right? Okay. Yeah. Not changing any pilots or ships, though. All right. So, first, we're changing the proton bombs to seismic charges.
Done.
We're gonna drop the R4s for now. We don't need them. Those protons are now, or those plasmas are now gonna become proton torpedoes. And then you're left with 1 point. Either stick with that, or, as we found out, Rick Ollie maybe doesn't need the regen all the time. So if you wanted to, you can drop regen on Rick, upgrade Obi to have CLT, and then you could put the R4s back in the Y-Wings if you want, or have the bid so Obi can make sure he gets the battle meditation lock when other I5s move their way in. I
like that. I think that is a very nice way to streamline, and you've obviously given the list more punch right there. Protons, 4 dice. Sounds good. And people are scared of proton torpedoes. I feel like when people look at plasma torpedoes, they don't. Obviously, they're good. You know, we don't want to open up the proton versus plasma debate here. But yep. Proton torpedoes have that possibility of getting that crit there, and in the mid and late game, that can really be a huge gamut that just blow a game wide open.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to make some droids really sad, just pop 2 of them immediately with 2 proton torpedoes as separate shots. And then if they try and run into you, you're just like, all right, I got seismic charges. No struts for you, boy.
That's right. And you know what? Depending on your meta, right, those proton torpedoes, if you got Separatist heavy, you're like, all right, so let's start with 2 less drones on the table, and let's begin the game now.
Yeah, and now we may begin.
That's right. Okay, awesome. I think that was a pretty simple fix there. I like it. A little tweak. Thank you, Chules, for submitting that. Then we have a list from Jedi Oswald. It is a Rebel list. And he was like, at the own, I've been itching to play Evan Verline. Trying to make Evan Verline work. And this is the best I could think of. I would love to see you guys have a go at fixing this up into a competitive list. So the list is Luke Skywalker with Brilliant Evasion and R2-D2, of course, as foils. Then you have Evan or Evan Verlaine with nothing. Let's go ahead and read Evan's ability so that we know what we're working with here. It says, at the start of the engagement phase, you may spend 1 focus token to choose a friendly ship at range 0 to 1. If you do, that ship rolls 1 additional defense die while defending until the end of the round. So I think the idea here is trying to... it's just a support ship, right? So then we have 2 Blue Squadron Scouts. Those are the U-Wings. One of them has Jyn Erso Crew and Tactical Scrambler. Tactical Scrambler says while you obstruct an enemy's attack, the defender rolls 1 additional defense die. And then Jyn Erso, which is if a friendly ship at range 0 to 3 would gain a focus token, it may gain 1 evade token instead, and then another Blue Squadron with just Tactical Scrambler. So I would say from what he's built here, just his strategy is take the lead with the U-Wings, give cover to Evane and Luke, and just kind of go from there. I feel like this is one of those where you're putting so many pieces together to make a pilot work, but you know what? This is list of a week. And we're gonna try to make this work. I know one of the things that sticks out to me right away is Brilliant Evasion, just because. How many points is the thing? It's 3 points.
Yes, it's a little pricey. I have a suggestion. If it is
go for it.
Ivan Verline list, I think obviously this list is geared towards just making Luke unhittable, right?
Right. But what if they're just not? They'll just ignore Luke. I guess he's great endgame anyway, right?
Well, sure, at that point. But why don't you bring somebody that they have to shoot at, which is Biggs Darklighter.
Ooh, there you go.
I would start there, then start thinking about a force ship.
All right. So
because that should screw with target priority all up. Do you shoot at the Y-wing, who's Biggs is taking damage off of, or do you just shoot directly at Biggs, who now has 3 agility?
Yeah, because you can swap if you swap R2-D2 just to R2 Astromech, you drop one of the Tactical Scrambler, but keep the Jyn Erso crew. You have a naked Biggs Darklighter ready to do its thing. So as for competitiveness, I don't know. Do we think that Evane has enough? One of the problems I have with it is it forces you. It's definitely it's a formation flying issue, and I feel like for Rebels right now, their strength is the fact that they're able to create kill boxes really easy and aren't relying on range 1 shenanigans. But having Biggs in there, I think, is a great way to pull heat for sure. I like that, Will. So Jedi Oswald, hopefully you can try that out. Let us know what you think there. Now, our last list comes from Trogdor04, which, by the way, shout out to him. He is in remission from his cancer. I don't know if you guys remember that from a while back. So congratulations to him.
That's awesome.
Yep. Thumbs up, buddy. Keep it up. Keep it up. Now, here's the list. The list is 4 A-Wings and a Fireball. So the list has ZZ Talo with heroic. All the A-Wings have heroic and advanced optics. So I'm just going to say the names. We have ZZ, Zari, Greer, and Ronith. Then we have Jarek Yeager with heroic. Jarek is in the Fireball. He's a new pilot, so I'll go ahead and read his ability. He says, while you have 2 or fewer stress tokens, if you are damaged, which they are right to start with the explosion with wings, if you're damaged, you can execute red maneuvers even while stressed. If you are critically damaged, you can execute advanced maneuvers even while stressed. So advanced maneuvers being their turnaround maneuvers, so that you have the Talon roll there for that ship. They don't have K-turns. Now, my question, as soon as I looked at this list, was, is it better to have a 5th A-Wing in the list versus bringing the fireball. Now the whole reason for the submission might be the fact that he's trying to find a way to play a fireball. But I want to take a tangent on here. He didn't give us any type of brief with it. Would you rather have Jaeger or another A-Wing?
This is super funny. I was playing on tabletop, and we had theorized this exact list. I had brought a very expensive fireball and then 4 A-Wings with it, and I didn't like Kaz as much. I think Jaeger is a little bit better here, but one thing that he adds to this is that slam action. He's actually just as fast, if not faster, than some of these A-Wings, especially Jaeger, who can talon roll with slam, which is pretty crazy. But I think, and that's the point I'm getting at, that I think there's a fundamental flaw with the build for him. But as far as bringing the extra toolbox, I think he functions as good as an A-Wing, just not as good defensively. He still has like time on target, just like these A-Wings do.
And what do you think, Ryan?
So I don't think you necessarily... We won't know until we see it on the table. It's worth trying, for sure. I question why Zari isn't just Tally. Get the point. May as well. Triple I5 seems pretty good. Mm-hmm. So I think what you could do is, and I know people are going to go crazy because they love the heroic, but you don't need it all the time. Ronith with his ability already has an insanely high percentage chance to get 2 hits. If you take heroic off of him, you're not losing a lot. 2 blanks feels bad, but you can live without it. It doesn't happen that often. And like Ronith should probably exist in 5A or at least 4A plus something builds. His ability will work and go off, and it's really consistent damage, more so than your standard Advanced Optics heroic A-Wing, actually. And it becomes moderately defensive when you have some left over from, say, ZZ. ZZ's worth keeping heroic on because ZZ realistically is your end game. Really hard to kill. Really good damage output because you don't mind spending for Advanced Optics because you'll get a focus or evade afterward. Tally, there's argument that sometimes she doesn't want Advanced Optics. She's a higher initiative. You want to keep her in the game. Yes, you want to push damage, but sometimes it's not the best idea to use that mod because then a lot of times Tally just gets half health and just has to run. So if you drop Advanced Optics off of her and you drop Heroic off Ronith and you drop Heroic off Jarek, I think you can put a better build together on the actual Fireball if you do the R5 Astromech and Coaxium Hyperfuel. I think those 2 upgrades are going to be some of the better combinations to put on a single Fireball. Yeah, you don't get the automatic damage, but like most of the time you should be slamming for positioning early. No crazy shenanigans till later. But Coaxium allows you to keep slamming even if you bump into something, which is a huge deal against lists that we're seeing that have a lot of generics and swarms. I've tried in a test game. It's ridiculous. Like, you probably don't catch a fireball that often if it's a higher initiative one, because he can still bump into you and just keep going. And then, hey, there's your card. You're critically wounded if you... Actually, what's the timing on that? After you partially execute a maneuver, you may expose one of your damage cards or suffer a crit damage to perform a slam. Hey, look. Yeah. If Jarek is stressed and he uses Coaxium Hyperfuel and he has no damage cards, he's now critically wounded and he can still do a red maneuver. So, catch me if you can.
There you go. I like it. I like it. So... Trogdor, hopefully that helped you out. And everybody who's watching today, live. I want to say thank you guys so much for tuning in. And today's a little bit of a shorter episode than usual because I am super tired. I still need to edit all this, and I got things to unpack and all that things. So we're going to go ahead and cut off a little bit short today. Shorter podcast for sure. Thank you, everybody. And we did talk about during Las Vegas that we're right now our biggest goal for Gold Squadron is trying to build up the viewership during our weekly streams. That way we can get that Twitch partnership. Because right now they look at our weekly streams and they say, hey, you got that number isn't always above 75. We got 95 people watching live right now. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. You guys are part of that journey. Thank you guys so much. And for everybody here at Gold Squadron Podcast, Gold Squadron out. Don't forget Wednesday, League Night. Thursday, Paintcast. Okay? Bye.